you might be familiar with this, or this, or this.
The novel coronavirus, aka Covid-19, has infected more than 9 million people and killed more than 500,000 worldwide.
But where did this virus come from? Here are 3 main conspiracy theories. Theory number 1. Man-made virus from a lab in China. On 7 April 2020, the Epoch Times released an hour-long documentary insinuating that China had bioengineered the virus.
It can't possibly be a natural mutation.
They referred to COVID-19 as the Chinese Communist Party virus. And soon, the story was picked up by mainstream media, spreading the rumor like wildfire. Wuhan, where the outbreak began, is home to China's only Level 4 biosafety lab. A Level 1 lab studies organisms that are unable to cause disease. A Level 4 lab was designed to study deadly pathogens such as the Ebola virus. Research done by Bo Tao Xiao, a synthetic biophysicist from the South China University of Technology, pointed to possible human involvement in the evolution of COVID-19. More clues suggest that bats couldn't be found within Wuhan's vicinity, let alone be sold at the markets. Indeed, there had been a team in the Wuhan Institute of Virology studying these coronaviruses. Led by Dr. Shi Zhengli, they researched bat-based coronavirus samples for several years. 98% of COVID-19's characteristics match existing research samples in their lab. However, the Chinese government silenced her and started censoring news reports on the disease, even deleting search engine terms like SARS variation, Wuhan unknown pneumonia, and Wuhan seafood market. Weirdly enough, Dr. Shi went against her initial statement a week later, claiming that no samples matched. Bo Tao Xiao's research was also censored by the authorities, thrusting the legitimacy of the virus's source into further mystery. Despite contradictions, immunologists and microbiologists worldwide have compared the available genome sequence and firmly determined that COVID-19 originated through natural processes. There was no credible evidence of genetic engineering, and if the virus genome was altered, signs of an inserted gene sequence would be present, which it was not. Theory number 2. The US military brought COVID-19 into China. The first known COVID-19 case in the United States of America was reported on the 20th of January 2020, involving a man who returned from Wuhan, China. However, there is evidence that the novel coronavirus could have been present in the United States in November 2019. Deep in the throes of a bad flu season, US hospitals may have been misdiagnosing novel coronavirus patients with influenza. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's director, Robert Redfield, revealed that many fatalities from the common flu were likely unaccounted coronavirus victims.
So we could have people in the United States dying for what appears to be influenza when in fact it could be the coronavirus or COVID-19.
Some cases have been actually diagnosed that way in the United States today.
On 12 March 2020, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Zhao Lijian tweeted that it was possible that the US military brought the virus to Wuhan, as the US military had participated in the 2019 Military World Games in Wuhan in October 2019.
Mattia Benassi, a US Army reservist who competed as a cyclist in the WMG, was identified by conspiracy theorists as patient 0.
However, none of the service members who made the trip, including Benassi, tested positive for the virus. Despite the lack of evidence, Benassi and her husband's email inboxes were subsequently flooded with threatening messages from all over the world. Death threats had been mailed to their front door asking them to be executed. Beyond speculations, the accusations were largely baseless, propagated by conspiracy theorists and China state media. Benassi and her husband's experience point to a more potent and worrying pandemic that emerged stronger than ever during the COVID-19 outbreak, the spread of false information. Theory number 3. COVID-19 came from bats. Many human coronaviruses can be found in bats. Severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus and Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus, for example, was suggested to have originated from bats. Scientists suppose that it's likely that an intermediary animal was involved, in the same way the SARS coronavirus moved from horseshoe bats to civet cats before infecting humans. According to Jonathan Epstein, a veterinarian and an epidemiologist with the EcoHealth Alliance, pangolins have been found to carry a coronavirus, and a short piece of the virus's genome seemed to match a short segment within the novel coronavirus sequence. However, it was found that samples of similar viruses taken from pangolins lacked a chain of amino acids seen in the virus now circulating in humans. Also, pangolins are not listed on the alleged inventory of items being sold in Huanan seafood market. Even though we can be sure the coronavirus originated from bats, the intermediary animal is still not found. Let's be reminded that it took 10 years to find and confirm the origin of SARS. And the evolution of a virus is something even experts need time to comprehend, so we should avoid pointing fingers at anyone so quickly. Conspiracy theories and fake news do nothing but create fear, rumors, and perpetuate prejudice that jeopardize our global collaboration in the fight against the virus. Instead of worrying about personal hygiene practices, people became wary of others from a certain race. A global pandemic requires global cooperation to overcome. We have to put aside our differences, stop the fear-mongering, avoid spreading rumors, and only share what's reliable and useful for everyone. It may not cure the virus, but it certainly will keep the world a safer place to be while we fight the pandemic.